Welcome back to United TV. This is a mini preview of Aston Villa versus Manchester United. It's the morning after the night before. Not sure how I feel about last night's game in Porto. It was one that we should have won. We threw it away, and then somehow we came back and earned a draw with 10 men. So crazy night. But before I continue, please could you like the video, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, and of course, add the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that we have on the offer. I'll be going through a few things today. We'll start off with the team's forms. We'll look at a bit about Aston Villa, what they've got to offer. We'll have a look at the Premier League table before focusing on injury news, my possible 11, who I think will be the key player, and my score prediction for this match. So looking at the form of the two teams then, Aston Villa have got 4 wins in their last 5 and 1 draw. They're a team in really good form, and last time out they had a monumental victory against Bayern Munich, one of the biggest in their recent history in the Champions League. 1-0 at Villa Park. They're buzzing, they're on cloud 9 at the minute, and Villa are a really tricky opponent for anyone, as they've proven. Before that then in the Premier League, they were held to a 2-2 draw against Ipswich. They beat Wickham in the League Cup. Before that, they beat their rivals Wolverhampton Wanderers at Villa Park 3-1, and they went away to Young Boys of Bern and got a 3-0 victory on the opening night in the Champions League. So they're a team in very good form, dangerous team with some good players. United, on the other hand, only 1 win in their previous 5. Of course, last night we had the 3-3 draw with Porto. It was an incredible game, one that you don't want to watch if you've got heart problems, that's for sure. Before that, we had a terrible game against Spurs where we lost 3-0 at Old Trafford. We're hoping to erase that memory and put it right in this game against Aston Villa. Before that, we had a draw with FC Twente in the Europa League. Before that, we played Crystal Palace. We had a 0-0 at Selhurst Park, a game that we dominated in the first half, and in the second half, we were lucky to come away with a share of the spoils. And before that, we had a 7-0 win against Barnsley in the League Cup at Old Trafford, which we've failed to build on. Okay then, so looking at Aston Villa, they're unbeaten in their last 7 in all competitions. They average at the minute 2 goals per game, having scored 12 in 6 in the Premier League. They also concede 1.5 goals a game, 9 goals in their 6 Premier League games. So their defence isn't completely solid this year, so that does give us a speck of hope. They're creating 3.8 big chances per game in the Premier League, and in John Duran, they've got one of the in-form players in the league. 6 goals in 9 in all competitions. So we've got to be very wary of him. He's on fire at the minute. Looking at the standings then, Aston Villa up in 5th place. That's about the area that we want to be in the table. They're on 13 points. They've played 6, won 4, drawn 1, which is the one against Ipswich, and lost against Arsenal. 12 goals scored, 9 conceded, with a +3 goal difference. And you've got to go quite far down the table to look at Manchester United. We're 6 points off the pace with a negative goal difference too. We're on 6, 2 wins, 1 draw and 3 defeats. Only 5 goals scored, which is very disappointing. 8 goals against, which isn't too bad, although in the last couple of games we've looked shaky at the back. And a -3 goal difference. So this is a game that if we're going to be aiming for the top 4, we can't afford to lose this game. But not only that, the pressure is mounting on Ten Hag. He cannot afford to lose this game. This is a very important game for Ten Hag and his future at United. Ineos and the fans expect better from Ten Hag. So he is a man under pressure and he needs to get a tune out of this team against a very difficult looking Aston Villa. Injury news then. The usual suspects are still out. We're still waiting for the return of Lenny Yoro with his metatarsal injury and Tyrell Malacia. Meanwhile, Luke Shaw is expected back soon in the next few days, as is Victor Lindelof, although I think this game will come just too soon for the pair of them. I expect them to return after the international break. Mason Mount is still an unknown. He had the head injury that he picked up against Tottenham. He wasn't in the matchday squad for the game against Porto, so it remains to be seen whether he will make an appearance in this one. Kobe Mainoo, meanwhile, is also a doubt. He did not appear against Porto in the matchday squad. However, he could just be precautionary being rested for this game. He's an important player to us, and I would be surprised actually if he doesn't make the squad. So looking at my possible starting 11 then, I've gone for Onana in goal. He had another good night against Porto, albeit he did concede 3. He made some good saves to keep us in that game, and he was one of the reasons we were able to rescue a point in that one. I want to see Diogo Dalot taken out of left back. He's been terrible there the last 3 or 4 games, really, really poor. He's costing us on average at least a goal a game at the minute. In my opinion, we just have to get him back to right back. And due to Shaw and Malacia not being expected back till later in the season, then I would go with Mazraoui at left back, who's played there at times for Bayern. And after his goal in the Champions League and the very poor form of Martinez in the last few games, I'm going to go for a return to the first team for Harry Maguire alongside Matthijs de Ligt. I think Mainoo may come back in, all being well, and I expect him to be partnered by Ugarte, who was rested in the game against Porto. Bruno Fernandes is a player who's been bang out of form this season. He has 2 red cards to his name in his last 2 appearances, albeit the red card against Tottenham was overturned. But his form on the pitch has been very poor, well below the level we've come to expect from Bruno Fernandes. Therefore, I'm thinking that Christian Eriksen is actually going to take Bruno Fernandes' place and provide a bit of composure on the ball for United in this one. Marcus Rashford, on the other hand, he was taken off against Porto at half-time. The manager says that he's rotating and resting him for this game against Aston Villa. Therefore, I expect him to come back in and start. Garnacho, I expect to come in ahead of Ahmad, who has looked a bit impotent in terms of goal threat the last few games. He hasn't done a lot wrong, but Garnacho is young and hungry also, and I think he deserves a spot on the right in this one. Meanwhile, I'm expecting Rasmus Højlund to start after his goal exploits against Porto. His return to fitness could have come at a good time. Joshua Zirkzee is finding it hard to find the net in his first few games. Therefore, I'm backing Højlund to start up front. And onto my key player for this match, I've gone for Marcus Rashford. He terrorised Porto in the first half. Going forward, he scored a goal. He also had another attempt narrowly wide and just generally caused their right back all kind of problems without any support from anyone on the left behind him. He's averaging 101 minutes per goal or assist this season, so whilst those numbers are not back to his best, they're an encouraging stat that's a bit better than he was achieving last season. He seems like he's gradually getting back into form. We're seeing the resurrection of Marcus Rashford. And my prediction for this match, unfortunately, I'm going to go for an Aston Villa win. I think they're going to score goals. Meanwhile, I think we can also pinch goals of our own. I see this being a bit chaotic, and I see Aston Villa running out 3-2 victors at Villa Park, unfortunately, which is going to put 9 points between us. We'll have also a negative goal difference, so you can consider that an extra point. And at this stage in the season, to be 10 points or 9 points plus goal difference off the top 4 is going to put Ten Hag in a very, very sticky situation. Coming up to the international break is only going to add pressure to Erik Ten Hag. And that's all I've got to say. So thank you very much for tuning in to this match preview of Aston Villa versus Manchester United. Please like the video, please share, drop your comments, let me hear what you've got to say. I'd like to chat to you. Please subscribe to the channel. Please turn on notifications so you don't miss any future content. Thank you very much.